Hello, world. Hello, everyone. Now, undoubtedly, 2021, or let's just take it back to 2020. 2020 to 2021 have been completely different. I dare say none of us prepared ourselves for a world that has suddenly changed, a world that has, removed us apart. But in other ways, a world that has also brought us together. My name is Anita Erskine, and I love to think of myself as a descendant of Nestle, not only Nestle Ghana, Nestle Siwa, Nestle in its entirety, in its vision, in its mission, in its purpose. If I take myself back to even when I was a child, even days that I couldn't remember, my mother would reference every single element of my growing up to Nestle. Today, I have become a person who not only shares Nestle's vision and mission, but I also believe in its purpose, and a purpose that is hugely underlined and highlighted at this time. International Women's Day, that we dare say now will become International Women's Month. Today, we are drawing audience from all over the world to have a very important conversation. Women in leadership, women who have led, women who are leading, and how they will encourage the rest of us to lead with purpose, to choose to challenge. Today, we are surrounded and joined by outstanding women and men who will share wisdom, nuggets of wisdom, to not just me, but to you, and of course to the Nestle family all around the world. But I will not host by myself. I'm going to bring on my sister in this fight, Victoria. Victoria, a few words, tell us where you are and exactly how the year has been for you, Victoria.
Hello, everyone, and good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're coming from. Thank you very much, Anita. You're very welcome to this International Women's Day Choose to Challenge Live panel, coming to you from Nestle, Nigeria, and powered by your very own Maggie. So you're welcome. And we're going to have fun today, and it's going to be a great time of sharing and everything. And yes, Anita has already told us what to expect today, and we have an amazing lineup of personalities that are waiting just to have this chat with you. Yes, we're going to introduce you to them in just a bit. But before that, I want to make sure that you've registered for the event. So go ahead and scan the barcode that you see on your screen right now. Be sure that you've registered. Yeah, just go ahead and scan it now. Great. Make sure you're doing that. Great. And Anita has already talked about the fact that we're bringing people together from everyone all around the world. So I'd like to know exactly where you're joining from, but just make sure that you've registered first of all, and we'll get to that in a minute. Great. Great.
Victoria, I think I can put you on the spot. I know today we're going to be having conversations with outstanding women, but you are an outstanding woman. And, before we get into that serious conversation, how have you dealt with the pandemic? And I see that Maggie, regardless, is thriving, but how have you dealt with it? How are you doing?
Oh, Anita, thank you very much. And thank you for putting me on the spot. That's the very thing to do. So, yes, the pandemic was, all kinds of challenges that came with it, but it was also an opportunity. When I say to people sometimes that, oh, I'm really happy that the pandemic did happen, they're like, I mean, are you crazy or something? Yes, it came with its own set of challenges, but I could see the opportunities in that. It gave me time to spend with my daughter, to get to know her better, to find out what was happening around me, to really introspect and then find out the things that really mattered to me. Yeah, sometimes you're going all around the world and you're doing great things and you're not asking yourself what matters to you or for you or why you're doing the things that you're doing. So the pandemic for me was that kind of time. And it actually helped me discover more of my potential and what more I could do and to reconnect with people around me and to find out what really mattered to them. But I think that we're going to have more of that conversation today to look at how we all go through it.
Yeah. And just before we throw it to our outstanding panel, let me tell you, I used the lockdown and the pandemic to learn new Maggie recipes. Victoria, now my family is saying, can you please stop cooking? As long as it can be a Maggie meal, it's anything and
Don't
everything.
stop cooking.
All right.
Definitely not that. Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so I'm happy that we're all registering now. We're all registering. Great, great, great. Okay, now I'll just like to know where you're calling in from all around the world. I know that you're coming in from different countries around the world, but just tell me where you're coming from. Just put that in the chat section. Ah, I see Ruth joining from Accra. Ruth, you're welcome. You're welcome. Great. Remy is also from Accra, Ghana. I'm sure there are people from all around the world. Oh, yeah. I see Chiamaka joining from Nigeria. You're welcome. You're welcome. Great. Are there people joining from other countries? Would like to see you, your town, your city. Oh, yeah. I see Fumi joining from Lagos, Nigeria. Fumi, you're welcome. You're very, very welcome. Great. Well, while we're doing that, I'd just like to go through some house rules. I see you, Olabode from Nigeria. So, yes, throughout the call, you will be muted, but we'd like to hear your voice. And if you put your comments, your questions, your views in the chat box, we'll be glad to pick them up at some point. So make sure that you do make your voice heard. Great. Gloria from Nigeria, you're welcome. Okay. Great. And I did tell you about that great panel. Now, today, I'm going to introduce you to some of them, and I'm going to give them a minute to just tell you about themselves. I have two Fridas, so I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to have a Frida D and a Frida M, but we'll get to that in just a minute. So I'm going to start from the first Frida. I'd like to introduce you to Freda Duplan. She's an outstanding business leader, and she's currently the chair of the board of directors at Zenith Bank Ghana. Frida D.
Hi, thanks very much, Victoria. Good morning, everyone. Good morning from Freedom Plan in Accra,
And
Ghana.
that's the one thing. Yes.
Sorry, Anita, were you saying something?
Just carry on, Frida D. Thank
Okay,
you.
Go ahead.
so I'm Frida Duplan, and after 40 years of transformation of organizations, teams, I am retired right now. However, not fully retired, but retired from full-time employment. So I'm currently the chairperson for Zenith Bank Ghana. I am also on the board of Zen Petroleum. I also do some work still on a consulting basis for our Nestle group from the zone. And my time with Nestle over the 27 years was spent starting from IT through sales, supply chain, project management, heading and leading and setting up our shared business services, as well as my last two roles of being the MD for managing director for Nestle Ghana and Nestle International. I have been looking forward to this webinar, and I am sure we will all have a wonderful time together in the next couple of hours, sharing our experiences and talking about how we can choose to challenge and really choose to, so that we are not talking about the same things year on year. Nice
Great.
meeting you all.
Thank you very much, Freda D. And there are very interesting comments in the chat box. I'll pick that up for you very soon. But first of all, let me present to you Wasim El Husseini, who is currently the managing director of Nestle Nigeria. He's had quite a run himself. Wasim, would like to meet you in a minute.
Hello, thank you, Victoria. Hello, everyone. I'm Wasim Al Husseini. I've been 18 years in Nestle. Majority of them is in the Middle East and the North Africa region. I joined this wonderful team in Nigeria and the Siwa region September last year. I'm currently the managing director of Nestle Nigeria and looking forward to a very fruitful engagement. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Wasim. And then we meet Frida M. Frida M is currently the Director of Human Resources in Nestle and West Central Africa. Freda Muchina, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Anita and Victoria, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone. It's quite a great pleasure to be here with you today and just to be able to interact with you. I have been, in the field of HR for more than 20 years. but been in Nestle for the last 10 years. It's been quite an exciting journey for sure being in Nestle, having worked in a couple of countries. I am originally from Kenya, and but now I am based here in Nestle, based here in Ghana, and really quite enjoying the quite diverse culture that we have today in Africa. But of course, today being a wonderful, wonderful day that I get to share a platform also with colleagues from and really friends from different countries. So thank you so much, and looking forward to a great chat with everyone.
Thank you very much, Frida M. And then I come to Monsieur Vinson Van Burneveld. Vincent is currently the head of supply chain for Nestle in West and Central Africa. Vincent, everyone.
Good morning, everyone, and great to be here. So as you've said, Victoria, head of supply chain for Central West Africa. I've spent some 20 years now with Nestle in a variety of different roles, mainly in supply chain. The last 10 years of those in Africa. So I've worked in Kenya together with Frida M, in Congo before that, and just the last 3.5 years here in Ghana together, of course, with Frida D and Frida M again. So great to be here, really excited. Of course, I mentioned about my head of supply chain, but I'm also the head of diversity and inclusion for CWAR, and I'm really excited for this very special day today. Looking forward.
Great. That's a very important role, Vincent, and I'm sure we'll be discussing more about that. But first of all, let's meet the amazing Wando Ajene, who is currently the category manager for Maggi in Nigeria. Wando Ajene, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Wando. I'm first a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, and then I'm a wife and a mother. And today I manage Maggi in Nigeria, and I'm also a diversity champion for CWA. So I'm so excited to be here and on this distinguished panel. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to chatting some more.
Great. Very interesting comments in the chat box there. But we'll come to those there. Let's meet Elon Tagbo, who is currently a graduate trainee in the technical and production section with Nestle in Ghana. So, Elon.
Thank you, Victoria. Hello, everybody. My name is Elom, and I've had the opportunity to be a graduate trainee with the Nestle Tema factory since December 2019. It has been this continuous learning and growth opportunity, and I'm optimistic about what lies ahead. And I'm happy and excited to be on this panel today. Thank you.
We're very excited to have you too. So Anita, you see the great panel that we have today, ranging in terms of age, in terms of gender, in terms of roles, in terms of experience. So I hand it over to you to take it from there, Anita.
Oh, thank you very much, Victoria. And I dare say that we are completely honored that all of you would make time wherever you are in every part of the world, I would say, to join us. So we're going to jump straight into the panel discussion. Thank you very much, Victoria, for handling the introductions. And I think the introductions were important because it's important that you understand why we brought this extraordinary mix of men and women from Ghana, from Europe, from everywhere. Now, let's think about the theme for this year. The theme for International Women's Day, Choose to Challenge. I mean, I'm going to ask each and every one of you what you choose to challenge. Before then, I want to bring the question to Vincent. I mean, Vincent, when you think of choose to challenge, now I know that you've seen a lot of women putting their hands up and saying choose to challenge. Vincent, what does that mean to you, if I may ask that question?
For me, it's extremely powerful. To challenge something means to change something. If you choose to challenge, you're basically deciding to step up. For me, it's a call to action, to be a part of a change, to be a part of a meaningful change, and a change that is really long overdue. We've done a lot, but there's so much more to do. And to choose to challenge, it means to push the boundaries. For me personally, it's making that choice. It's making sure that you're there, that you're heard, and to stand up for others. And particularly, when you have a role of leadership, I think it's part of your responsibility. It's a moral obligation to stand up and to choose to challenge. So that's what it means to me. Thank you.
Frida M, thank you very much, Vincent. Frida M, can I ask you that question as well? When you think of choose to challenge, what it means to you?
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Anita. And I echo exactly what Vincent has said. Today, as the ladies, we're saying, what do we choose to challenge that will be different from the norm? That of course, getting to appreciate what other people are doing. From my end, I said, I choose to challenge, to be able to respect and value what is different from myself and what is also common to myself. To be able to remove that unconscious bias that is within me, and then I'm able to actually view things also from other people points of view. And this is where we ensure that we are actually living a very inclusive environment today. So I choose to challenge, to really look at what is common and what is different from myself and others.
Thank you very much, Frida M. Nwando, choose to challenge. What does it mean to you or for you?
Well, today it just means that I need to change some things for myself. I actually think it's an inward, introspective slogan and phrase where I have to change some things about myself and how I look at things. And it's as simple as that.
Thank you very much. And I loved your introduction, mother, wife, all of that, because we do, exemplify a lot that women need to be, and well done for doing all of that. So let's bring it back to a conversation around, COVID-19. A lot of us, well, let's just say all of us have envisioned, seen what COVID-19 has become. If I can bring it to you, I'm going to come back to you, Vincent. Vincent, Nestle Central West Africa region has made strides over the last couple of years to create a workplace that provides equal opportunities for everyone. As a regional diversity champion, what would you say are the key areas we still need to challenge the status quo, especially in a world, in which we are looking at COVID-19 right in the face?
Yeah, thank you. There's quite a few things that come to mind. Yes, we've made strides. But there's still a lot of challenges to be had, and some that come to mind is also, taking that challenge not just inside the organization, but also to take it outside of our organization. Things that come to mind is perceptions on jobs. There are jobs that we have that are great, that women and men can equally succeed and thrive in, but that we typically tend to get more male applications, and we need to challenge that perception on those jobs. Elorm is here today with us, and is really showing that engineering, typically perceived to be a bastion of male domination, can and should very well be a place of diversity, and gender diversity. So we should challenge those perceptions. Same as with sales. Sales is one of those roles that sometimes people think it's only for men. I think that's wrong. It can be, anybody can succeed in that role, and particularly in sales, I think. Why particularly, I don't know, but in sales as well, women can be very, very successful indeed. I think another thing that we really do need to look at challenging is some of the legislation in the places where we work. So really to engage with government so that there is no limitation put on women. For instance, being able to work in the same places during the same hours as men. In some of our countries where we operate, we still see that there's some limitation against it, and I think we have to challenge that. And then, of course, looking inward, looking at the organization, we sometimes have good intentions, trying to help, but sometimes by helping you can make things worse. So if somebody doesn't ask for help and you try and go and help, you put somebody in a victim role rather than in a role of power. So I think as we try and create the right conditions, it's very important that we have that right conversation and the right debate, so to make sure that as leaders, when we step up and we challenge, that we make sure we challenge from a place that is really beneficial to the people that we're looking to include. So for that is I think also a challenge to really be mindful, have a right conversation, and listen. And I like what Nwando said earlier. It starts with yourself. Listen and look at what you see and what you perceive. So that challenge, I think, is the big challenge that all of us, we need to continuously do.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vincent. And I think I threw you into that seat because it's important that we take, a bird's eye view of the impact even of COVID-19 on diversity and inclusion, especially when many, many women have had to take two steps back, to stay home to take care of the family. And I'm so proud that Nestle is ensuring that no matter what happens, women are still included in that major conversation as we bounce back from the pandemic. But you can see a question on your screen, and I'm going to give this question to Wasim. Wasim, let's talk about the actions that Nestle has taken to mitigate the effect of the pandemic. As we're looking towards achieving an equal future, and as fingers crossed, we are bouncing back from the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you for this question. I'm going to handle it from two dimensions: the now and the future. So since day one of the start of the pandemic, Nestle's primary message to everyone across all 5 continents was to ensure the safety of our employees. This was non-negotiable and came before any other business priority. The list of actions that we've taken in our sites, whether offices or in the field, in distribution centers or factories, was huge, too huge to list now. But what I want to point out is that over and above, several women-specific initiatives were put in place to ensure not just their safety, but also their well-being and the well-being of their families. A couple of examples to share would be we have considered pregnant women and nursing mothers as vulnerable, and therefore they were asked to work from home. Primary caregivers were supported to homeschool their children during the period of COVID-19. However, this is all in the past and in the now. Now, looking forward, regarding the actions Nestle will take or must take to achieve an equal future post a COVID world, will largely depend on our understanding of what's happening during COVID. It is very vital, that we look into the data and understand it. Did we lose more women from our workforce than men during the pandemic? If yes, then why? Was it COVID related, directly or indirectly? Could we have prevented it with the actions in place? So, etc., etc. I advise all line managers to look into the data and take, all preventive actions immediately now to protect the future. In Nigeria, for example, we know that 10 out of the 78 people who left the company since the start of the pandemic were women. 10 out of the 78. This is the lowest number we've had in the past 3 years. We also know the reasons for leaving for each and every one of them, be it retirement, relocation abroad, or other reasons, but none were directly or indirectly related to the pandemic. And that gives me affirmation of the effectiveness of all the measures we have taken so far. Look, we will continue to be close to our employees, understand their worries, empathize with their situations, and ensure we retain them for the right reasons. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wasim. Frida M., may I ask you the same question?
Thank you so much, Anita. And I would just like maybe to just add on to what Wasim has mentioned. Let me add on first from a Nestle point of view. Of course, he's quite reiterated a lot on the safety element. But, as Nestle also at the time really for the pandemic, then and even now, we really recognize the need for the people, across all walks of life who really to remain gainfully employed during these times, and while we know that many companies in the region and across the world were laying off employees, as Nestle, we really double down our efforts, and our commitments to our employees to provide them with a safe and secure way to keep their jobs. Be it that you are working in the office or you are working in the factories or you are working from home, we ensure that everyone still kept being paid and also being supported, in any extra support that we could attribute, even to really just appreciate the people. I give you an example, like to our frontline workers, in the beginning of the pandemic, who really braved every day to go to work physically, be it in the factory or even in the field, just to ensure that the business kept on running. So I think this is quite important also for an organization, because then it showed that element of, the need to really support and continually providing to the families who are being impacted a lot with the pandemic. The second thing is really to add on to that, we don't underestimate the impact COVID-19 has had on people's mental and physical health. And today, it's really paramount to provide employees with easy accessibility to employee assistance programs, where they can easily get to access our counseling services. We know that, at some point, many people, either yourself, myself, whether you have lost someone who's very close to you, or a friend that you know, or a friend to a friend, and this at some point really brought a lot of, beyond just stigmatization, but just the need to have that psychological support and a safe net that people can be able to leverage on. So these employee assistance programs really are quite important, and we really encourage our employees to reach out to be able to get this support. Beyond this, also wellness programs at the workplace that support the employees' mental well-being. Just this week, by the way, in Ghana, we do have a step count challenge, which I see, colleagues are posting some really interesting and crazy step numbers, which I say, go person, go girl, go gentleman for that. But really, these are just good tips, and good actions that people are able to do to relieve burnout, stress, ensuring that people are eating well, ensuring that people are having the self-care, which really is helping a lot in terms of just maintaining this well-being. So sometimes it could seem as if they are really smaller things, but they go a long way in terms of just ensuring that the employees are being taken care of. I think lastly, just to mention, if it comes to particularly like for women, there is a research which was done by McKinsey and Company that said one out of three women, in the workplace, especially in the formal sector, they are thinking of either quitting their job because of COVID, or actually taking steps back in their career because of, to ensure that they continue supporting their families, their children in homeschooling and all this. So what is it as organizations we should be able to put in place to ensure that we are supporting these women not to really actualize that, working out of the workplace? Ensuring that we are providing, policies that support the work-life balance, which then are able to minimize the social and economic impact that the employees are having. And I'm sure at some point we'll be able to mention things like parental policies that we've put in place, or flexi policies that should be able to really support such kind of conversations. I'll stop there because I know there's a lot to converse about.
No problem at all. Nwando, may I ask for your thoughts on the same?
From my perspective, I would really like to talk about what the brand has been doing, because we speak to women and our consumers directly and represent Nestle in the communities. So as a brand, our ethos has always been about making a difference in the lives of women, especially in the homes and in the communities. So we really had to be creative, we had to be innovative, and we had to really relook at our activities considering safety and some of the restrictions that we had. So we looked at all our several platforms, and we looked at how can we empower women at home, how can we support them better, how can we inspire them. And you've kind of highlighted some of the activities that we went and kind of blew up a little bit more. We used tools like digital. We decided to talk to people more at home, talking about recipes. We did live videos. We hosted more virtual events. And this was really exciting to women. I know we did a lot of communication. I know even times once we collaborated with NP to look at the caterers, because some of their businesses were not thriving. Some people didn't have, events and things to cater to. And we said, how can we curate some special initiatives for them? And so we curated special packages of different of our products, and we shared them with them and gave them recipes. And it was just a way for them to explore and get excited again and think of new ways to kind of bring themselves and make themselves better. So we empowered them in products, even in the northern Nigeria. This was during Ramadan sometime this year. We worked with our different influencers on WhatsApp to keep people excited, different things. So we tried a plethora of tools, I can tell you, to really, and we were even challenged more, but it was a way to really give back, a really way to support, and we felt really a stronger connection with our consumers during this time, I can tell you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nwando. And I felt that connection as well. Trust me, after a few weeks into the lockdown, I said, what would Maggie do? And then I went straight into the kitchen to rediscover my culinary prowess. Victoria, over to you. I mean, you have a series of extraordinary questions for our panelists.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Anita. Very interesting conversations from, looking inwards and, challenging the status quo, looking at what is the same and what is different in everyone else. Very interesting conversations. And, I think it's a nice segue to take it from there. And this question is really for Frida. At Nestle, we try to create an equal environment. It's not about just the female gender and all of that. It's about inclusion as well. So could you talk to us about what strides that we've made and what progress we've made towards ensuring that, creating an atmosphere that allows male, female, to see themselves as equals and to work together as equals in the workplace?
Yeah, thank you so much, Victoria. And that's a good question. You see, Nestle globally provides equal opportunity to everyone, regardless of the race, the gender, ethnicity, color, whichever, We pride ourselves to providing an inclusive culture where everyone has an equal voice to be able to speak up and give their opinions and ideas, There are various initiatives, which enhance that atmosphere that allow everyone to be able to thrive. You said whereby men or women can be able to challenge the status quo, I give you just a few examples, For example, in many of the markets today, including SIWA, we do have what we call the Innovation Awards, where employees participate equally, to bring out ideas to better the business or the consumers or even the people in the organization. These basically are platforms which are open to everyone, regardless of really, the walks of life that you come from. We have also created, especially right now, created different forums. I give you another example, like the women forums, where we have, in various countries today, where women are allowed to come together, share ideas and experiences, learn from each other on how to manage work life, together with the home life, which, we are all encountering, together with, add on to it the career development as a woman. So these forums, really, we are using them to provide that coaching and mentorship opportunities for women across, where even sometimes we do have like the senior, the women in senior positions, mentoring young women in the career development and just inspiring them to become better every day, And this could be, yes, for the leaders forums, but also we do have different, whereby we have like the leadership forums too. Another angle I would want to pick is probably through training also. And we are supporting really our line managers and across the spectrum, all our employees, to also foster an inclusive workplace, whereby we are able to accept each other for who we are. Today, we conduct what we call the unconscious bias trainings that enable all of us to be able to value and respect each other's backgrounds and also understand from our own inherent biases that we may have, so that we can consciously work around to ensure that we are creating this inclusive work environment, I would like also to pick on something else. A lot has been spoken, especially in challenging in the workplace. How do we provide an equal, opportunity, especially when it comes to hiring and promoting? And as Nestle, we are, we are very keen in terms of ensuring that we provide equal hiring and promotion opportunities to both men and women in the organization. And especially even in some of the functions whereby historically we have known that they are predominantly men dominating, like in the factories, we are encouraging women to apply, and where they are successful, we are really supporting them to ensure that they succeed in these jobs. This is in a bid to just ensure that we have a greater, a gender balanced work environment across the organization, which we all know that today a good, a balanced environment has proven to really enhance collaboration, diverse perspectives, which bring out that creativity, improve retention, increase the productivity and all. Lastly, I would just like also to really mention, creating a work environment that allows employees to thrive cannot happen without the support of the top leadership.
Mhm.
And it's not just by word of mouth from the leaders, but by the actions of making this, diversity and inclusion priorities as part of the business priority. In this region, as an example, we do have what we call the Diversity and Inclusion Steering Committee, which is actually chaired by one of us, right now, Vincent, our head of supply chain, who is the chair, the champion of this committee, and he's not from HR. We do have the market head, the CEO, as part of the committee too. And the sole purpose of this committee is to ensure that we are creating an inclusive work environment, that everyone is inspired and motivated to work in, from having the right behaviors, the right values in the workplace, to having facilities also that are enabling this creativity and providing really a conducive and safe working environment. So there's a lot really, as Nestle we hold, in terms of just ensuring that we are able to challenge, the status quo where both women and men are being, are having an environment where they're able to thrive. Thank you, Victoria.
Great, great. Thank you very much, Frida. Creating an enabling environment comes from education, improving the level of information, and enabling everyone to, that's why it's called unconscious. It's a bias, it's unconscious. If you bring that to the fore, then it's easier to address it. Thank you very much for that. And I'd like to go to Frida D. All right, you've really made great strides. You've had quite an eclectic career path. What were the elements, the key enablers that helped you to reach the heights that you've reached and to do what you're doing right now?
Thank you, Victoria. But before I get into answering your question, I would like to make a comment on what I think we should choose to challenge from another perspective. Vincent, Frida M, Wasim, Wando have all talked about what is being done at Nestle and what Nestle as an organization is doing for us female employees. Now, I challenge our female employees to say, as female employees, are we fully utilizing all these policies, initiatives that are being offered to us in the workplace? Because let's remember, with challenge, we can improve. With challenge, we can move to the next level. But if we are not utilizing really all these wonderful initiatives, policies, and everything that has been put in place, how can Nestle continuously improve on what they are doing to support us as employees? So that's my first input there, which I think we should not forget, that as much as the organization is doing the best that it can, we also as employees, as female employees especially, must do our part. Now, my enablers that have gotten me to where I am or where I got to, there are basically three I would like to concentrate on. The first one really is to do with our ability and willingness to take up challenges. So willingness to learn, willingness to move out of our comfort zone, whether it's in the area of function or geography, and the ability to perform in different roles. So that's the first enabler. The second enabler really, of course, is hard work. Hard work not only of yourself, but yourself and your team. As a leader, you must ensure that as you succeed, you are succeeding with your team. You cannot be a good leader succeeding by yourself. The third enabler is, of course, support from family and the organization. And I say family because that's important. Family, if you are married and you have a spouse, as well as children, if not your family and friends, as well as the organization. Here, I will say you can only succeed in your role if you are being supported by your line manager and by the organization. And these are the three enablers that really helped me to succeed in all my different careers and the different roles that I performed during my time at Nestle. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, Frida D. Thank you. That's great wisdom. The three enablers, I've noted them for myself. The ability and willingness to take on challenges, hard work, and carrying your team along. And then, of course, having the support of your family and your line managers to succeed. Great. And, those of us who are already in positions of management to carry our team along as well. It's not about you as one, it's about the team, it's about the whole organization. Great wisdom right there. And with that, I come to Wando. Wando, you've had quite an eclectic career as well, from finance to now leader of the Maggie team. Now, what could have been the barriers, or what barriers did you meet along your way on your journey to where you are right now? What are those things that could have really prevented you from reaching those levels, and how did you address them to get to where you are right now?
Thank you for that question. I think the first barrier we have as women is ourself. We often, limit our vision, our plans, our expectations, but there's also family, whether it's friends, family, and community, and there's society. We're in Nigeria, we're in Africa, and there's some norms. We also have lack of representation sometimes. And there are policies, obviously, that are external barriers as well as internal barriers. But I think what corporates and Nestle, I would say, does very well is they give an opportunity for women at the table. So I joined Nestle in 2016, and one of my early memories was really a visit from Wang Ling from the center, and we had a close interaction. Mrs. Duplant was also a country manager in Ghana. So this was representation of people that I saw, the field staff. In fact, nutrition business, I went to one of their conferences and they have quite a lot of women there. So I saw this as, a lot of opportunity for women. Today, I have a plant manager in Abara who's a woman. We have a QA manager who's going to be a factory manager in Angola. So I see that women are allowed and encouraged to play a role. So I think it's really important that we recognize this early. I think Frida M had mentioned the trainings and recruitment. And as diversity chair, I can tell you there's a roadmap. I haven't seen a lot of organizations that have this, that have, a clear-cut action plan on what is being done. What could we do better? Is really to start with the new talent, encourage them, look at the different diverse backgrounds people are coming from, and look at the barriers to entry and how we can sort of have an inclusive environment for leadership for the future. Obviously, like we said, that's why we're in this position. I think mentorship is really key. It's encouraged, but I don't know if we could, make it more pronounced, the programs that we have, so that we can really, really push ourselves personally and professionally. But overall, the ecosystem is ready with forums like this, with opportunities to speak and share. I think we're quite on the right track for the roadmap.
Thank you very much, Wando. And one key thing you mentioned, and Frida Didi talked to that as well. The biggest barrier sometimes is yourself. Most of the time, we think that the biggest barrier that women have is themselves. Are you taking advantage of the opportunities that are being put before you? Are you taking advantage of the programs that are put before you? Here, no one hands you anything. You need to take it. You need to take those opportunities and leverage them and utilize them to get to wherever you want to get to. Nothing is a barrier. Great. Thank you very much. And I'll ask Wasim to add to some of what Wando has talked about. And Wasim, you're the leader of the biggest business in Nestle Western Central Africa, Nestle Nigeria. What strides has Nestle made? What are we doing? What more can we do to improve that culture of diversity and inclusion in Nestle Nigeria, starting with, and rolling it out to the rest of Central and West Africa?
Thank you, Victoria, for this question. But before I answer it, let me start by reinforcing that gender equality, and in particular women's rights and empowerment, are critical factors in creating shared value for both our business and the society we live in. This is why gender balance remains a key component of Nestle's approach towards diversity and inclusion. To answer your question, I'll split it into three parts. So first, education, second, protection, and third, improvement. Education. It all starts with building awareness and sustaining it at all levels, not just among peers, but also line managers. Building awareness comes in different forms. As Frida M. has said, we have had trainings, classroom trainings, workshops, refreshers, and topics were many, they included but not limited to diversity and inclusion, unconscious bias, sexual harassment prevention, also communication through multiple platforms, being our newsletters, the internal comms, workplace. So education plays a big role to just build the awareness. Second, we move into protection. How do we ensure we preserve and retain our female talents that are currently in the company? First, by providing services that put their mind into ease. An example would be for creation of fully equipped baby rooms in all our key sites, including factories, to enable working mothers and bring their babies with accompanied caregivers so that they can have access to them during their breaks or lunchtime, to breastfeed, to care for their children. Providing medical personnel also on site to provide first aid in case of any emergency. Also, look, protection and preservation of the people is by walking the talk. When each one of us becomes an example, portraying that education, putting the education we had in the classrooms into practice. The third point is improvement of gender balance in the company, both at an overall level as well as in key and leadership positions. And that is key in the recruitment and succession planning strategy that also Frida touched upon. For example, in our technical training center, the evolution of gender ratio went from 10% to 40% female entrants into the 18th month program. We ended up recruiting all of them. Among the top 5 graduates of the latest batch, 3 were females, and they will all be exposed to further internship in Switzerland. So, look, the examples are many, but how we do it in Nestle Nigeria and Nestle in general, please remember, educate, preserve, and always work on continuously improving. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Wasim. Educate, preserve, and work towards continuous improvement. And, walk the talk, be the role model, act on the things that you're learning. Great stuff. And you did talk about the hiring process and the processes put in place. And that I'll bring to Elam. Elam, you joined us in 2019. And could you share with us what your experience was with the hiring process? And, how did you perceive the process and the fairness and the what was it like for you? Just share with us your experiences alone.
Thank you, Victoria. So I think the most notable thing was the transparency. So all the steps were communicated clearly, and so you knew that if you did well in this step, that's how come you get to the next stage. There was no lowering the bar or a sense of needing protocol or an inside person to work out a spot for you. There was just you knew that if you did well on this step, that's how come you were going to go on the next stage. It was purely based on merit. And I think another remarkable thing was after you're hired, you get put in this mentorship program. And then I feel like that's one of the biggest things, because it's not just about meeting a KPI on gender parity, but then this is a sustainable measure to implement. This is a sustainable measure where Nestle is trying to implement the fact that to implement and encourage women to rise by learning from people who are more accomplished. And so I don't know if we're allowed to give shout outs, but I would like to say that my mentor, Sadia Batuta Daula, is a very great woman, and she's a production manager, and she's someone I look up to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alarm. Two things, just jump out at me. There's no disrespect of the perception that the bar was lowered just to bring you in. That is wonderful. Every time I talk about diversity and inclusion, and there's this notion that you should lower the bar, I'm like, that is disrespectful. You're saying we can't, so you have to lower the bar to get us in. That is not what we're asking for. Level playing ground. Excellent. And I'm amazed that that's your experience. And really shout out to Frida M, who is the director for human resources in Nestle Central and West Africa. How did you, succeed in bringing the hiring process to where we are right now? To give everyone that idea that, it's merit and you have an opportunity, you take it, and if you succeed, then you're here. Frida?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot, Victoria. And I really like what Elom has said right now. The truth, and it's just the plain truth, Nestle globally, there are no different standards of hiring because of the different gender, and really this is a good question because, and particularly now, you've pointed out to HR, because it all starts even when we are doing simple things like advertising for these positions, or external, advertisements. We do not request for, particular gender or age or race or ethnic or, any of this, because this would already start by creating a bias, which the company today doesn't stand for. So as a company, I mentioned earlier on that we are really an equal opportunity employer, and you will be able to see it through the entire process. We talk about the interviewing process itself, or the questions that we ask. They're the same questions regardless of who is sitting in front of us, when we're doing those interviews. We do not have specific questions for different genders. We use what we call the competency-based recruitment, which is based on the position that we are interviewing and not really who we are actually interviewing. And out of it, we also ensure that, during the interviews that they are conducted and determined not by one person, but instead by what we call interview panels, which then we ensure that we are holding each other accountable to really present, objective assessment of the candidates that we have. So at the end of it, really the successful candidate is that person who has come out as what we call the gold medalist, during the entire interview process. And this is validated and of course nominated through a consensus of the different, the interview panelists. But in summary, let me just mention this. It's never one man show in how we select the right candidates in Nestle. Lastly, you'll see in Nestle that, we're a matrix organization, which is actually the beauty is that the decisions are made, not only by the direct manager, but also by, the functional or the cross-functional managers, which then just ensures that inclusivity is, in the decision making. So it's good to hear this also from Elon, and where, whatever candidate is successful, be it for the male or, or the female, we are able to support them in terms of just succeed in their jobs,
Thank you very much, Frida M. That's really beautiful, and quite a lot of insights shared here. I've heard a lot about mentorship. I've heard a lot about coaching, and that's really important. I've heard about sustaining matrix organization, holding ourselves accountable, ensuring that throughout the process it is clear that this is an equal opportunity employer. All very, very, very engaging conversations, and deliberate actions taken to ensure that we have an organization that is diverse, that is inclusive, that creates an opportunity for everyone who wants to aspire, who will work hard and who will take advantage of the opportunities before them. Really great conversations. And, I think that, there's a lot about walking the talk, holding yourself accountable, looking inward, and seeing how you can challenge the status quo and make a difference. So we're doing great things individually as an organization and really preserving that, like Wasim said, educate, preserve, and always strive for more. And Ella mentioned something that is very important. She talked about the transparency. That is really critical. If we can maintain that transparency, then we're on the right path and we can really look to doing more of that. So with that, I hand it over back to you, Anita, to take the conversations further from here.
And Victoria, what I absolutely love about your summary and also what I've heard is, seeing that Elam, who is literally just coming into the fold, it's still really part of this bigger global conversation around balance. And I'm so happy that sitting outside and looking in, I see that Nestle is completely exemplary in this. So you know what? Congratulations. I doff my hat to Nestle. With this said, Frida M, I bring you back on the same tangent of gender balance. In 2019, March 2019, Nestle launched an extensive gender balance acceleration plan, and it sought to put further emphasis on increasing the number of women in senior executive positions all around the world. Now, how has that plan been implemented in Nestle's Central West African region? And what would you say the impact has been on business? Frida M.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anita. And yes, you've said it right. So globally, Nestle, in 2019, there was the launch of this, big, gender balance acceleration plan. And, just to say it up fast, even before I come to Siwa, to where we are at today, just to understand the commitment, even to the executive board members, this is actually a priority for them. It is one of the business priorities that they have put for themselves to ensure that we are driving, these gender acceleration plans. So when we already have the commitment at that level, it clearly tells you when now it cascades down to, for us here in Nestle Central West Africa region, that it already comes with that oomph and support from the leadership team. I guess it's because today it's even beyond Nestle. There is the appreciation that a balanced environment, that a balanced workplace has much more benefits than actually just having one which is very much skewed to either male or female. Okay. Before I even get to in terms of what the impact is even to the business, if we look at today in Siwa, because you've asked me particularly in Nestle Central West Africa region, our approach really to the global challenge to increase the volume and equality of the female leadership is really grounded on three pillars. First, if you look at it from the global point of view, they have talked about the executive, and this is really senior positions. When I come here to the market, there might not be majority of these positions. So from our end, we have to see even across the board, all functions, across all levels of management and even below management, how do we ensure that this acceleration plan is being met? So first and foremost is holding ourselves accountable by setting measurable gender balance goals, where we're talking about improving the gender balance across the different levels in the organization, not just looking at the senior level, but we're talking about even at the shop floor level in the factories. We're talking about in the field sales. I'm challenging myself in HR. My team here in the head office is predominantly female. I'm challenging myself. I want more male, in the team because I know the benefit that it's going to bring. That's one, holding ourselves accountable. The second one, a diverse workplace through our policies. And Wasim really also reiterated a couple of policies that, we've put in place today as a company, and I really liked also what Frida Duplan mentioned earlier on, challenging all of us who are viewing this call today. Take advantage of these policies, take advantage of the parental policy, take advantage of the flexi policies, because when we are able to provide this, it's for employees to be able to ensure that they're taking advantage of these policies to make sure that, they're living what is the right, and having that balance element. The third element on it is supporting and empowering the women, and Elon mentioned about the mentorship, but through also our talent management practices, we have enhanced, sponsorship and mentorship schemes. For example, we are actively listening, increasing the number of women in the departments that traditionally we hired men, We're talking about like the training centers, which, you had Wasim mentioned today. For example, like in Nigeria, we have training centers whereby we have actually encouraged, more women to apply for these jobs, to go for the recruitment, in Nigeria, in Cote d'Ivoire. We're able to balance these intakes, ensuring that, when you encourage more to take these courses from the university, they apply and you find them, they're doing very well even in the interview process. And eventually we are actually having such improvement. Like I think in last year, we had almost nearly 80% increase in the admission of women, bringing almost an equal ratio of men and women in these training centers. Lastly, from my end, just to be able to summarize, some of this, it might seem as if it is very far-fetched if we do not bring real examples. And, last year we appointed our first female factory manager, Joelle, Abega, who is now, heading the third largest factory in the region, Yupugum factory in Cote d'Ivoire. And recently we also made an announcement actually to have a second female factory manager in our Tofa factory in Angola. What is this doing is that it is encouraging, the women to actually take up such leadership positions, and whereby through the talent management practices, we are grooming such leaders to be able to develop into such roles and to be able to do exemplarily very, very well. And these women today, they are doing a remarkable job as role models for our young women who are eventually aspiring, to be leaders in these positions. Elom said she has a great mentor today. That's what we are calling out for, for the leaders out there, for the women leaders out there, to be able to mentor these young people who then eventually, out of real examples and experiences, that we inspire the people. You asked me what the impact is today to the business, and they might, be said, can this the improve in terms of the business numbers and the targets correlate to, having X number of men or women? All I can be able to say is that a diverse workplace, is a much more engaged workplace, is a much more, you have people who are much more motivated. You have an environment whereby, people they have diverse thoughts and ideas, which then means it enhances also, the innovation and the creativity in the workplace. And where you have happier people, much more creative people, I think, of course, you could be able to say it directly correlates also to the improvement in the business results. So this we are able to see, not just only in our market today, but also, of course, also in Nestle globally.
Frida, and thank you so much. And I think all that I'm hearing you say is you are conscious of even meeting the Sustainable Development Goals to ensure that nobody is left behind.
Precisely.
So from accountability to diversity to encouragement, you are making sure that every single woman and man stands their ground and that they're included. And talking about inclusivity, I mean, one of the things that was mentioned earlier was unconscious bias. So Vincent, I bring you back into the conversation. Looking at what has been done over the last 2 to 3 years, a lot of effort being put into training, around the awareness of unconscious bias. In your tenure as regional diversity champion, what have you seen as being some of these biases? And in your role, what have you seen, and how perhaps have you addressed them?
Thank you, Anita. It's this unconscious bias. Let me first start from a personal perspective. When I was first engaged in this training, I thought that biases were wrong, and I considered myself a pretty much unbiased person. So I kind of thought, I thought it was a good quality I had. Taking the training, you really come to realize that actually everybody has biases, and that's how the human brain works. But it's about being conscious of them. When I became conscious that I am actually biased and what some of those biases were, then you start, first by recognizing yourself, you're able then to start recognizing those potentially around you as well. I think one of the things that I've realized is, and I still see that happening in team dynamics, is this notion of a woman in the role of a caretaker, where you come to a meeting and we ask the woman to take the minutes or to organize the next steps. And it's actually a form of a little bit of a microaggression. That's another thing I became aware of, these little microaggressions. I was not aware of those, and as you become more aware of these things, you realize, like, oh, actually, that is a microaggression, and some of those, they come from a really good place. I've heard some people say, the person's going on to maternity, and this opportunity comes up when she will just be back from maternity. It's probably not the right time to offer her the job. Trying to help the person, but it's actually is wrong. is wrong, because you don't give them, you potentially don't give that person the opportunity. So that's something, we're very actively, when we're doing career discussions, it's one of those unconscious biases that we try to challenge and make sure that it doesn't matter at what stage you are in your life, to make sure that there, people that do go on maternity leave, they're able to flow back in into the organization. Some of the other ones that I've become aware of, and Frida has touched, I think, quite extensively already about that, is about some positions, whether or not we're able to find women for those positions, and by actively challenging ourselves, we're now able to make sure that for every single position that we bring to the table, we have a short list that always includes a woman, so that that and lo and behold, there are plenty of women out there that are keen to take those positions. So those are some of the challenges, some of the little biases that are out there. I think we're very consciously aware of those biases as an organization. So I see them as less of a challenge, but it remains very important to stay aware of those and to stay on top of those.
Thank you so much, Vincent. And you're talking about things women go through, experiences that women will go through, and I've gone through them. But, as you're speaking, the one person that I'm thinking of is Frida Duplan, because with 36 years, Frida, and I'm sure in those 36 years, you had a few babies, you moved from one part of your career to another, but most importantly, many of those years have been in leadership positions, which I have to say, have been against the grain. Frida, what would you say are your 3 key nuggets of wisdom that you would like to share with young people, with the Eloms of the world, who are planning to enter the workforce very early in their careers? And how would you empower them to go after their career aspirations and challenge the status quo and the biases that Vincent even spoke about?
Thanks, Anita. And yes, throughout these years, I had 2 sons who are now all grown up, married, with children, and I have grandchildren as well. So it is possible to do that. But it is possible to do that by also knowing yourself and ensuring that you really do know yourself and take up challenges and roles that are not necessarily what you deem to be in your career path. If you look at my 27 years with Nestle, for example, I came in as an IT manager. Prior to Nestle, everything I had done had to do with IT, because that's what I studied in school. However, after joining Nestle Ghana as IT manager, I had the opportunity to move into the business side of things, and that's how I then got into sales. Of course, it meant I had to be trained for it. So I was sent out actually to South Africa for training on the job. Okay, so basically one has to be willing and also be transparent enough to say, I do want to take up challenges. We have very good systems in place and we have to use them. We have our career progression systems. We have to input what our goals and ambitions are. I wanted to get into general management, and I was offered the opportunity to do so from IT. Some people do think that this is just ticking the box for the organization. It is not, and we must therefore take it seriously. And sometimes the opportunities that are available are not necessarily very straightforward. It is true that we do have and we do need specialists within our organization. So we cannot have people moving all over the place. However, whenever there is any opportunity presented, I think we should, and I believe, and this is what I have done, to be open to accept those opportunities. So I went from IT to sales, to supply chain, to globe, different project management, to shared services, before getting into my first general management position as MD for Nestle Ghana. None of these experiences is ever wasted, trust me. And sometimes you get transferred also into some geographical areas that are not always very easy. So for example, one of my transfers was I was based in Guinea Conakry. I remember very much at that time, a lot of people thought, what did you do wrong? It is not about what you did wrong. It's more about the opportunities in being in such a position or an environment. So the first nugget is be open. I think I talked about that also earlier as being an enabler. Be open, be very open to opportunities, to roles that are not within what you deem as your career path, geographical areas, and different functions. So be open to all these opportunities. The next nugget is consistent and sustainable hard work. I talked about that earlier also. It is an enabler, or was an enabler, it still is an enabler for me. And you cannot, there are no shortcuts. You really must ensure that you do the work well, sustainable, and remember, working with your team. As a leader of different functions, I definitely am no specialist, and I wasn't a specialist in any of those functions, which meant I relied heavily on my team because I had the specialists within the team. So it is important as a leader to be successful, to work well with your team, to ensure that you do follow all the behaviors that we have within the organization. First and foremost, respect for everyone, respect for everybody's viewpoints, being willing to listen, willing to try new ways, and of course, minimizing risk to the company. But it is important to work well with your team and lead the team to be successful. Third, but not the least, is to be bold and courageous. I know sometimes as females, when we are ambitious, bold, and courageous, we are labeled as being aggressive. No, we are not aggressive. The men, our colleagues, are equally bold, ambitious, and courageous. And it is a trait that is very important in a leader. And you can do so without being disrespectful and still get your point across and your viewpoint or your issues across. Therefore, the three, I will just quickly list them. The first one is take up opportunities, take up challenges, don't be afraid to fail. The company will not let you fail. Your line managers will not let you fail. So be bold and take up new and different roles and challenges. The second one, of course, is as a leader, be sure that you work well with your team. And your success is not just your lone achievement, but that of your team as well. And of course, the third one is that we have to be ambitious, bold, and courageous. Thank you, Anita.
Thank you, Frida D. And Nwando, I dare say everything that Frida has said applies to you after 20 years, from finance to business development to corporate communications and marketing, and now sitting at the helm of the biggest Nestle brand in Nigeria, Maggie. I like to call it My Maggie. Can you share your experience on how you've managed both your personal and professional lives, keeping these two extraordinary elements in balance as you rose up the ladder, Nwando?
I first have to say that balance is relative because what counts as balance for Wando is chaos to others. And it's important that I lay out that context before I share a little bit about response. So I grew up in a family of 5 children, 4 girls. I'm the 4th girl, and I have a baby brother. And in the family, our parents encouraged us to voice our opinions and share. And they always respected our individual talents and instilled in us very early that both genders could thrive regardless. And we were always encouraged to leave our mark. So based on that, I think I would say 3 things, judging from Ms. Duplant. The first one would be to have a vision and a plan for both your personal life and your professional life. Because if you're going to have a career, and young people today like to have a fast-tracked career, they want to pursue incredible opportunities, you have to contrast that with everything else in your life. So how do those goals work with a family, with children, with travel, with furthering education, even with exercise? How will your social life play out when pursuing those opportunities? When you answer those questions, always serve these questions, when you answer them, always serve as a compass as really how to plan your life. And I think that there has to be some sprinkle of compromise each time. The second one is really to identify your values and commit to them very early. What are your values? Bold, I am very bold. Be excellent, and then be authentic. This authenticity is really important because you might find yourself in very uncomfortable situations, and then you can understand your limits better. When do you want to optimize being at home, planning for it? And you have to own it. You have to really decide, and it has to reflect, okay, that family is important to me. So your line manager, your work ethic will show that. And if it isn't, you have to really kind of optimize what your values are and how it works for you. Lastly, we now live in a world where it's actually very difficult to separate our personal life from our professional life. I know on calls, people have heard dishes in the background, chickens in the back, the lights going off and on because of calls on Teams, and you've heard children. So now I think we really have blended our professional and personal life. So we really have to bring our full selves to both worlds. I think it's critical to have cheerleaders and support network. I have benefited from a lot of support, whether it's family, friends, or paid help. So in summary, I think there are many ways to optimize for balance, but the key word is optimize. And those days that you feel out of breath, please, please, please recharge with whatever you like and enjoy, and so that you have more days that you're full of energy and full of life than fewer days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nwando. Please do recharge. And I think it's important, especially for every woman, to understand that it's okay to say I'm tired, and it's okay to say that I need to take a break. Wasi, ask you a question about, the global parental support policy. And last year, Nestle Central West Africa launched this, and it was extraordinarily progressive, amongst other things, and allowed for 18 weeks fully paid maternal leave and 4 weeks paid paternal leave. How has this enabled new parents to effectively balance, their work with their lives, Wasim?
Okay, thank you. Look, at the journey of supporting this amazing yet very demanding phase in the lives of a couple has started some time back in Nestle, which eventually led to the recent launch of the parental support policy that now allows for 18 weeks fully paid maternal and 4 weeks also fully paid paternal leave. This is excluding the regular annual leave entitlement, and mothers can have additional 1 to 2 months unpaid leave if they feel if they require more time off. While increasing the paternal leave is beneficial for both the father and the baby, it's as important, if not more, also for the mother during this period. Look, besides this policy, and definitely not less in importance, we also ensure flexible working time for our pregnant female colleagues, flexibility to attend their pre-birth doctor appointments. In addition, our female colleagues enjoy flexible work arrangement upon resumption from maternity. We have a very clear and flexible checklist that defines step-by-step approach for employees and their line managers. I cannot agree more with Nwandu when it comes to work-life balance. I personally believe that such policy goes beyond work-life balance, as work-life balance is quite individualistic and situational. But look, ensuring that parents are supported during this important phase is key for both personal and economic development. And to answer you quickly on your question, studies show that adequate maternity leave leads to, first, lower infant mortality rates due to the presence and care of the mom around their babies. 2, increased health benefits for the mothers, and we're talking here both physically and emotionally. 3, higher female workforce participation, as we help removing the barriers for mom to say this thing might not help me, work and progress in the future. And 4, increased breastfeeding rates, which the company highly advocates and supports. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wasim. And I believe that, yes, even though the word is progressive, I think the word is, aggressively ensuring inclusivity. And we've got to thank you for that. My last question goes to Elam. And, as I was listening to Elam, I also cast my eyes to Frida D, who was smiling from ear to ear, whom I'm sure remembered her days of when she was young. But Elam, you're a young graduate trainee in engineering. Can you share one of those instances, when you could say that, you were so challenged in your role and you had to overcome that in order to know that, yes, indeed, you are choosing to challenge? Elo.
Thank you, Anita. So I think the biggest challenge was when I was required to work on tasks that required me to implement new ideas. So most often the stakeholders were these experienced, know the job very well men, and then this was me getting justifiable pushback from them because they had been in the system long enough to know what works and what doesn't. And so I mean, it was easy to just say I'm going to hide behind the wall of excuses, go back to my line manager and say, please say this cannot be done, but you don't do that. And so, and the Nestle system is set up in such a way that there's no hiding behind, oh, I'm only a graduate trainee. You need to learn to adapt. And so I learned, for me, it was learning to establish rapport and then communicate fully to these experienced people about the new ideas that I was thinking of. And then through that, also get feedback from them about what exactly works and whether the ideas will work, and then what's better alternatives there might be. And so through establishing the rapport, through communicating, I also found that these people were actually willing to teach and to share all their knowledge. And so for me, that was the biggest challenge, was working with people who were more experienced and then having to communicate with them and not have to and not get the pushback that you get from people who know their job. So thank you.
And Elam, in a few years, you will probably be in Nwando's seat or Frida M or Frida D, and you will be on a platform like this listening to what young people are going to be going through. So we challenge you to pass it on, pass the energy and the beautiful vision and focus you have onto the next generation. Do that for us. Mm-hmm. All right, so it's now time for, I see the questions are extraordinary. Wasim, Ruth Adeyemo is saying, great, Wasim. Bunmi is saying, Mrs. D, you are so excellently right. And Geraldo Yasmina is saying, I can relate. Victoria, it is outstanding to see all our 200 plus, participants completely engaged. This is extraordinary.
Mm. Yes, it is. It's been an extraordinary time. I mean, personally, I've learned so much and I've taken so much inspiration from Elorm to Vincent to the two Fridas to Wasim and to Wando. It's been greatly amazing. So a lot of lovely comments. Optimizing for balance. All of that. I think that, all our audience will go home today and then impact someone else along the path, just passing it on. That is what it takes. And, very soon, Elom will be that person in that position who has had so much experience that no one can hide behind and should be able to pull out others, to get them to do what is right. I've heard, about the openness, about the sharing, about the transparency. It's really been amazing. It's been great, and I think that now, I think each of us have chosen to challenge something, and maybe we can share with one another what we have chosen to challenge. I'd like to ask each of the panelists, what is that challenge? What's that commitment that you've made? What's that commitment that you've made, and what are you choosing to challenge? I'll start from Elam.
Okay, hello.
Hi, we
Thank
can
you,
hear you
Victoria.
now.
Okay, so I am choosing to challenge myself because it's important for me to give my best self, and through that I can set the pace for other women. Thank you.
Great. And I'd like to ask Frida M, what do you choose to challenge today?
Yeah, I mean, thanks a lot, Anita. I choose to challenge myself to become the better self, and this better self can only be if I embrace the better self of others. you know.
Mm.
That's why I had said earlier on, really, I choose to challenge to respect and value, what is common and different from other people. I believe, very believe much so that, everyone in my life, in whatever phase of, level they are, they have something that they can impact in me that I do not have. And so when I
Absolutely.
choose to challenge that element of being open to learn from them, then of course I become a better self of myself.
Excellent. That's great. And while we're going through the challenges, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box. And if you want to send it to us later, we'll be happy to take your questions. And now I'll come to Wasim. What do you choose to challenge today?
Look, I choose to challenge hypocrisy, and what
Great.
I promise is to ensure walking the talk, starting by myself and then to others.
Excellent. Vincent, you're the champ. What do you choose to challenge? We're
Wow.
going to hold you to that, Vincent.
I see. Yeah, no problem. I'm really happy about that. Look, I choose to challenge myself and my colleagues on biases or perceived biases, and to drive equality and inclusivity in everything that we do. We've talked a lot about diversity, but diversity without inclusivity is nothing. So that will be my part of my ongoing challenge.
Excellent. Great stuff. Frida D, what do you choose to challenge? I think you're muted, Frida D.
Sorry.
Thank
Yes,
you.
so I choose, thanks very much, Victoria. I choose to challenge the continuous development and support of the next generation and the youth, because by so doing, we can continuously prepare them for future roles. And I choose to do this through coaching and mentoring at every opportunity that I get.
Great. Great stuff. Wando, what do you choose to challenge?
I choose to challenge and change through my actions, my voice, and my energy. And I want to now help others find their voice as well.
Excellent. Anita, you didn't get away from this one. What do you choose to challenge?
Hand on heart, hand up. I choose to challenge the notion that women cannot have it all, because every single woman on this panel, including yourself, Victoria, has some form of an external life, be it family, be it friends, but you all do it so effortlessly. And I've listened to all the contributions these wonderful women and men have made today. And I say, I can proudly say, indeed, if we all put our heads together and we all put our voices together, we can challenge the status quo that women cannot be the world's best leaders.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. And personally, inspired by all you great people and all the great comments I've seen out there, I choose to challenge the boxes and the labels and to give everyone room around me to be the best that they can be and give them the choices that they need to achieve the best of their abilities. This is my challenge today. And I ask you out there in the audience, what do you choose to challenge? You can answer that for yourself and you can share that with us. And I want to thank you very much again for being here. And I want to really give my vote of thanks to all the panelists. Elom, you're amazing. I mean, I'm going to take up conversations with you going from here. I'm inspired. Frida M, you're the best of the best. It's great having you on the panel today. Thank you for everything that you shared. Thank you very much, Wasim. You've been a strong support. I mean, I see all the comments there, and many people are happy that Wasim and Vincent are on this panel. I hear you're the cheerleaders for the women and pushing them on. That is great stuff. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vincent. You're the champ, and we stand behind you and we go along with your challenge. Frida D, I mean, what can you say? You're a part of the family, and we're great that we have you, to share from your wisdom and, the challenges that you're taking us through still along your path. Thank you very much, Wando. Thank you for helping every woman around you find their voice. Thank you for being a strong voice. Thank you so much for everything you've shared today. Thank you, Anita. Amazing as always. Thank you, cheerleader for girls' education and for women empowerment, and part of the Maggie family. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. And I ask you to follow us. Give us, make sure that you've registered so that the Nestle Careers can reach out to you with important information. You can find us at www.nestle. See where you have all the assets there. Make sure that you're in touch with us. And thank you so much for joining us today. I trust that you've had a great time, and we look forward to more of your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.